So we're doing rootkits today. Now, obviously, rootkits are a very complex problem, right? And they run on a kernel level uh, underneath the operating system of a machine. So that means antivirus programs and pretty much everything is unable to detect a rootkit. So there are some specific ways that you can detect a rootkit and remove it. There's a couple of different ways. One for Linux, which you can use on any Linux operating system, including Kali Linux. And then there's Mac OS and Windows. Now, for Mac OS and Windows, um, obviously, most of the programs are bogus, right? Most of the programs are bogus. They want you to pay. It's most likely malware itself trying to make you think that you need it to help you remove malware, but really what you're doing is putting malware on your computer. That's typical, that's common. Um, you usually never need anything other than what is already built into Windows Defender when it comes to an antivirus program. McPhee is sketchy. There's history behind that. I'm not going to get into, or however you say it, McPhee. I don't remember how to say it. You know which one I'm talking about. The antivirus program that's like built in it, everything, and it's the sketchiest one. And there's history behind it. We won't get into that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. The owner and what happened. Anyways, so most of the time you don't need anything except for Windows Defender. Now, there's other things, that you might need, that you could utilize that most people don't know about. One of them is CHK rootkit, and the other one, and these are for Linux. I'll get to the Windows and everything. And the other one is RK Hunter, which I'm going to demonstrate, and I'm going to use these on my Kali Linux machine in front of you, and it's going to check all the kernel systems and the things that antivirus programs don't check, and pretty much every other program doesn't check for it because it's not built to check on a kernel level, and it's to identify rootkits. So as for the Windows aspect, I'm actually using a program right now. It's called Malwarebytes. Now, like I said, keeping in mind that most of these programs are bogus, they're usually fake, and they're most likely malware to begin with. So don't go on Google and start looking up rootkit software to remove rootkit and all this other stuff. You don't want to do that, trust me. You're going to end up downloading a bunch of malware onto your computer. None of it's going to work. And then everything's going to be slower. And now you've given yourself an open reverse shell to a hacker onto your computer that you may not be able to get off now, because then they can pivot laterally and gain leverage. So not a good idea. What I would recommend is this program, though. Malwarebytes, I would say is a good program. I would say that you get a 14-day trial and you can use the rootkit scan, which I'm doing right now. Um, and then if you want to, you can pay for it after the 14 days. I didn't use a card. I didn't sign up. I didn't do anything. I just downloaded it and I'm running it. This was turned off by default. So scan for rootkits, that was signed off. That was clicked off by default. So what you want to do is when you first get in here, you're going to go to settings and you're going to go to scan and detections, and then you're going to turn on scan for rootkits. There's another option too. When I went into scanner, when I clicked onto it, there was a box that needed to be checked to scan for rootkits as well. So make sure you check those, and then you can run this. It's been going for a long time. This is a legitimate program. It's doing its real job. It's doing real work. And yes, there is that many files on a Windows 10 operating system, which is actually mind-boggling. I didn't realize that there was like almost 1 million files on a Windows computer. Like that's a legitimate number. Like there's a lot of files on Windows operating system, hundreds of thousands, almost 1 million. So it's got a lot of work to do, but it's gonna look through the kernels and stuff like that and try to determine any rootkits. So that's the best you're gonna get. right? We know that when it comes to rootkits, that they're mostly undetectable and almost impossible to detect and get rid of, right? So bottom line is we can only control what we can control. We can only do what we can do. And the ideology of some people is that, oh, there's nothing you can do, and oh, the rootkit, there's nothing you can do if it's rootkitted, and oh, there's nothing you can do about this, there's nothing you can do about that, there's nothing you can do about this, oh, we're just victims, and there's no way out, and oh, we're gonna die. I'll never believe that. I will never buy into that victim mentality, even know that I have been victimized by certain things, and I know that it's true and it's real, but I still refuse mentally. I'm not somebody that accepts defeat or annihilation of any sort. So, anyways, that's the Windows side of things, right? That's a program that works, and I'm using it right now. And for Linux, I'm on my Kali Linux. I'm going to use RK Hunter, which is let me just explain a little bit about. There's two tools that you can use for Linux that are credible sources. So it's one of them is CHK Rootkit, and that is a tool that is used to detect rootkits on Unix-based systems such as Linux. A rootkit is a type of malicious software designed to gain unauthorized root administrative access to a computer and often hide its presence from the system's regular monitoring and detection tools. Sorry, I couldn't get that off for some reason. Key features and capabilities of CHK Rootkit. Rootkit detection. CHK Rootkit scans the system for signs of common rootkits. It checks for various indicators of compromise, such as altered system binaries, hidden processes, and suspicious network activity. And normal antivirus programs don't do all those things. So scanning critical files, it checks important system files and directories /bin /user /bin user sbin etc. for tampering or unexpected modifications. Checking system utilities, CHK Rootkit examines common system utilities like ls, ps, netstat, and TOP to ensure they have not been replaced or altered by a rootkit. Network and system checks. It looks for suspicious network connections and checks for signs of promiscuous network interfaces, which could indicate that the system is being used for sniffing network traffic. Trojan detection. It can detect certain Trojan versions of systems commands which may have been altered to hide the presence of the rootkit or provide backdoor access. Malicious modules detection. The tool can also check for the presence of malicious kernel modules that could be used to hide the rootkit's activities or provide unauthorized access. Log analysis. It can examine system logs for evidence of suspicious activity or tampering, which might indicate a rootkit. So that's the first tool, and then we have RK Hunter, which basically I'm not going to go through all that. It does the exact, pretty much the same thing as the first tool. So I'm just going to run that. We're going to go through a process. So this is Kali Linux, right? So you can do this on any Linux operating system. As for the Windows, I already told you that program, what you can use, and then select to scan for rootkits, which scans on a kernel level, which antiviruses programs don't do that. So that's what you need. You need to be able to scan underneath the operating system on a kernel level, right? And everything is on top of the operating system. All the programs that run, everything that runs, your whole operating system is on top of, you know what I mean? Like, so it's basically the rootkit is built underneath the operating system. That's what I'm trying to explain. So when you get stuff like this, right? User bin /LWP request. So we could say, okay, we got a warning here. What does that mean? It could be a false positive, or it could be a configuration that I've set up in my Kali Linux machine, because this is Kali Linux, by the way. This is a machine, used for security penetration testing or hacking. So um, it might see some things that it doesn't agree with, as for a foundationally on a Linux level. You know, these are all rootkits, known rootkits it's checking for. One of them said, "Fuck it, rootkit." That's ridiculous, but okay. Anyways, I've already done this and I got a couple of warnings and I went through the process. There was only like two. There was like two warnings, and we saw that first one up here, and it has to do with this directory, right? So we want to know more about that. So what I did is I fed that information and that feedback to ChatGPT, right? And then it basically described the feedback, and it's talking about SSH having the ability to sign in via root, right? Which with Kali Linux, I mean, you might need. I'm not 100% sure. Technically, you don't want to have the ability for you don't even want to have SSH enabled. You want to make sure that port 22 is blocked, so that way there is no remote access to any of your machines unless you need remote access to your Kali Linux machine or your Windows machine or whatever it is. That's what you need SSH for, is to basically backdoor your own system so you can access it whenever you need to do so. So if you don't do that remotely, then you don't want that attack vector open, even though SSH is pretty secure. Like I've, you can't. It's pretty much impossible to brute force it nowadays, unless it's an older version or something. But you don't have to worry about it too much. But it still is something to worry about. SSH. So you want to um, check that out. So as for Kali Linux, it's okay. But if you are like on just a normal Linux operating system and you don't use Kali Linux, you don't do hacking or any of that stuff, and you don't need SSH, then you would want to follow the instructions that it gave you to disable SSH login as root user, which it gave me the steps. So it told me what everything is, right? About my feedback. It says warnings detected suspicious shared memory segment. The scan detected suspicious large shared memory segments. This could be normal depending on your system's usage, but it's something to check further. So because of what I do with Kali Linux, I'm not worried about that. But you could do more research on that. You could just give ChatGPT your feedback, right? So just based off of that, what I did was it told me to do this scan to have a look at all the shared memory segments. I don't know nothing about any of this, to be honest, but I'm learning right now. So then I saw this. This would have to do with like SSH maybe or something. I don't know. And it says owner instead of anon. Well, I am the owner. The only real user name that should be there is anon. So unless owner is built into Kali and that's supposed to be there, but I don't know. So I just went like that, copy pasted it um, in here because I wanted to know what that was, right? But anyway, so you just go back and forth. You get the feedback, you copy paste it back in there, and you're like, okay, what does this mean, right? So that's what I did. I put that there, and then the output of the IPC-M command shows a list of shared memory segments, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we know that. Column breakdown. Okay. Now, whatever that is the unique identifier for the shared memory segment. Okay, owner, the user that owns the shared memory segment. In your case, the owner is anon, which suggests anonymous shared memory created without specifying a key. Well, that can't be good. I don't know if I should be uploading this. No, either way, I'm sure it's like it's not a big deal, but um, it's just something to look into, right? Like, just depends on what you use your operating system for, but you can just investigate. You have the ability to investigate, right? So I'll investigate that further. Maybe I made a misconfiguration or something. It doesn't necessarily mean that it could lead to an exploit or me being backdoored or hacked or anything like that. You can have a bunch of vulnerabilities and they still can't be exploited. I run into vulnerabilities all the time that just can't be exploited. Um, but anyways, so I'm just learning this at the same time, right? I'm teaching you guys what I'm learning. So this is my process. This is what I do to investigate after I ran this tool to see if there was any warnings of any type of rootkit detection, right? And of course, there's going to be a couple of warnings, and when you investigate them, then you can learn more about them. It might be a false positive. It might be something serious, you know. But that's the beautiful thing about it is that you can just Google whatever this directory is and what should be in it and what shouldn't be in it, and then you can just fix it based off of that. Or you can just copy paste all this feedback into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will literally tell you that shouldn't be happening. This is the fix. Here's what you should look for. This is how you go into that directory. This is what you would change it back to normal. Like it literally gives you every possibility and then how to fix it and stuff. It's the best thing ever. Like ChatGPT is the craziest thing that I've ever had. Like as for helping me with ethical hacking. So we have the SSH root access is allowed. So I might want to disable that depending on if I want to use it or not. Hidden files and directories, okay, there's a warning there, but you know that could be also normal. I may have hidden folders and directories intentionally, and that's common for a Kali Linux type of an environment. But maybe if you just some other Linux system that shouldn't be having these warnings, you would investigate them, right? So, anyways, possible rootkits for out of like 500 suspected suspicious file type thing. It tells you. So I'm not too concerned because I'm in a Kali Linux environment, but just in case for informational and educational purposes, I will look further into that. Anyways, so you can search, you can find, and you can also, when you find the issue, depending on what operating system it is, you can remove it. So rootkits are not an impossible thing either that people think, oh, it's impossible. It's impossible. Everything is possible. You know what I'm saying? So anything and everything is possible. So whatever is against you can be, there's a way to undo it or block it or improve your circumstances. There's always something you can do. And if you were to have a choice, whether, okay, should you do something or shouldn't you do something? Obviously, you should always do something, you know, with everything. If you have the ability, why wouldn't you do something about it? You know what I mean? People are just, they don't want to do anything about problems. They'd rather just complain about them and just be like, there's no solution. And, you know, when there is, you know? So, and okay, you can't fix everything in the world, but for the things that I can fix and that I can control, I'm going to try. You know what I'm saying? Too, and that's my duty and responsibility as somebody that is trying to be more secure. You know, it just common sense, right? So, anyways, that's it for this video.